What is the worst thing that you've seen a coworker do and still avoid being fired? Accidentally send the last 3 years of account details back statements from one company to their direct competitor. Accidentally. 'Twas but an oversight, my dear. Had a boss storing pictures of himself in only his wide-open bathrobe on company servers. It was reported to HR but wasn't fired for it. Later he was arrested as part of an undercover sting, where he thought he was meeting a 15-year-old girl about 500 miles away. Way too many questions, comments to reply to all of them. Miss your more details. The images were stored in a shared folder used by a few employees. The guy was our IT manager, so he should have known better than storing them there. Assuming the pictures were taken using a work camera, because digital cameras were very expensive at that time and the company had a few. Before he left for the weekend to meet the girl, he had asked to use the digital camcorder I had for work. He told me he needed it to make a video of his home possessions for insurance purposes, but I was suspicious of that, so I told him I needed it for work. We found out he was arrested when he called the computer room collect from jail. This was later in the evening when he no-showed for work that day. We didn't accept the charges but called back later to see what he was charged with. At that time we were told solicitation of a minor, but the whole details came out later when he was on the local news station. I would walk 500 more. Just to be the man to walk 1,000 miles. To get handcuffed by your door. Why don't you take a seat over there? Intensifies. HR rep found out about a person's elective surgery and made fun of her with a former employee. Let me recap. This person knew about an employee's private medical information because she worked with our healthcare plan in her role as HR, and shared that private information with another person for the sole purpose of mocking the employee. She was not fired. That's not just worthy of being fired. That's 100% illegal. Edit. Please look for yourself. It's not illegal in jurisdictions. Drill a hole clean through a condensate line and have the ceiling of a 3-car garage collapse. When the drywall gave, me, I am that guy. AMA. How did you not die? Barely. I had 3 days in my office now, I was honest. It was one of those jobs with more than one teams of 2. And another guy was the lead. But as soon as I saw pictures of the devastation, I knew it was my fault. I told my boss that wasn't X's fault. I did that. I made a 1 in a million shot. I couldn't do it again if I tried. My boss said my honesty saved my job. But I'm at 2 strikes right now. You should be proud of your integrity. Just keep applying yourself and you'll make it through life just fine. Worked with a guy who punctured the main gas line to our shop 3 separate times. It was a construction company and he somehow was still my superintendent, although he could have blown up the shop. My dad's foreman once put gasoline in something that needed water and ruined an entire asphalt driveway. He's old and forgetful, and only works to get away from his wife. I know someone who managed to close an entire supermarket early for the first time in its history, costing the company several thousands of pounds. Because they tried to set a clock on a computer back an hour to avoid missing some deadline for a daily routine. He said it seemed such a good idea at the time. That's oddly impressive. How did setting the clock back lead to that? Not the op, but I assume their POS was a piece of shit from 2003 made up of the programming equivalent of gum and paper clips that fell apart when the time from one part of the program didn't match the time from another part. Worst coworker ever was the credit mooch. He would constantly horn in on other people's projects, getting his name added to them to make it look like he was doing shit when he actually not. If people tried to assign him any work on said project, he would have a personal emergency, or a virus would make him lose all his work, or his schedule is booked with other project, or the worst, he would pull some sucker in to help him with it. And said sucker would end up doing it all in utter frustration. Because he was so good at stealing credit, He managed to get top marks on his reviews despite doing absolutely zero actual work for the company. I know at least 4 people quit due to this guy getting better raises than they did. Far as I know, they never actually got rid of Hi Monsieur. That's middle management material right there. No, that's a straight shooter with upper management written all over him. Guy at my wife's old job was brought in because he was really good at selling the services they provided. Proceeded to send dick pics to the women at work and solicit nudes from the Monsieur. Women said to stop or they'd take it up with management, and it subsided some. Solicited nudes from a new chick who asked my wife about it, and my wife went to management with everything and said, "This guy's out or I'm quitting." Well, she quit. Guy's still there, but most the original female staff has quit. Money talks. Dude's bringing in more money than the sexual harassment issues. Shit's dumb. But if it's not a huge company, then that's definitely why he's still there. As an assistant manager at a Valvoline instant oil change, I was dealing with an unreasonable customer that had just spit at a female employee that he didn't want working on his car. He didn't know that the guy under his car was her boyfriend. The guy comes up the steps, grabs an oil gun, and starts pumping 10W30 all climate into the guy's window as he's frantically trying to start the car and roll up the window. The employee was reprimanded pretty hard, but it was understood why he did it. No charges were filed. The franchise owner paid a lot of money to have the guy's car cleaned. Obviously, I never saw him again. Edit. I never saw the customer again. If I remember correctly, the employee was suspended for a week. Edit number 2. I'm very sorry that I misspoke. I was an assistant to the manager. Well, this is the only example where I'm cheering for the offender. Stole a bunch of Mark tools. They were painted white. Showed everyone in the shop pictures of his deer with said tools in the background. Gets reported. Boss calls him on it. He said, "You got me. I stole a gallon of white paint." Never heard the boss laughing so hard. Year later or so he gets promoted. Lol. Damn, that's some quick thinking. After already being disciplined and essentially demoted for doing his job terribly. My coworker drunk texted all of our managers in the middle of the night asking why they didn't love Hi Monsieur. It's been about 2 weeks and I haven't seen him since. But he's not gone. Not the worst thing he could have done, but I cringed thinking about it. Not the same thing, but I drunkenly sent a dick pic to my work group chat and I'm still absolutely mortified till this day. Edit. Adding more info. Oh god, this is most attention I've got on Reddit and it's about my dick. Lol. Yes, this is exactly what happened. It was on Snapchat. I was sending pics to another guy. For everyone asking, yes, they wanted me to send it. Not just sent out of the blue. Lol. We sent a few pics back and forth and someone wrote something into the work group chat, so I accidentally chose to send it there, and before I knew I had pressed send. I knew immediately the second I pressed it I was doomed. They started opening it immediately. I just typed in that I was so embarrassed, but they were all pretty cool about it and sent me private messages of support and vowed to never mention it in work. I still am so embarrassed though. Definitely most embarrassing moment of my life, and I am clumsy by nature. Tip: if you leave the group chat on Snapchat, any snaps you sent in can no longer be opened. Wish I knew that beforehand. I'm just glad it wasn't on Messenger or WhatsApp where the picture would still be shutter. Yeah, that's worse. Obligatory, not me but my wife. She had a coworker that literally punched a customer. Wasn't fired. He later got into a physical altercation with another coworker. Wasn't fired. Then he wrapped my wife's hair around her throat and played choked her. Still was not fired. Finally, he got into yet another altercation with a coworker and pulled a gun on him. All while on the clock. Then he was fired. Man, what kind of shit did he have on the boss to blackmail him like that? We believe it was racially driven. I'm not one to play the race card, but I genuinely think that was it. Had a coworker as a standard business practice falsely condemn furnaces in winter to pressure homeowners into buying new systems and pad his commission check. I couldn't do anything as I had no direct proof, but he would joke about it all the time. It did finally catch up with him when one customer smelled BS and called other companies with advanced testing machines, took those results and sued the poop out of Hi Monsieur. I ended up working for that second company and haven't looked back. Sued the poop out of Hi Monsieur. Superb. If he's licensed, it should be revoked on those grounds. That's beyond immoral and makes honest tradespeople look bad. This dude walks a server out of the server room every 6 months or so to sell on eBay. We have literally no security except the front door. But the owner is so ancient and out of touch I doubt she even remembers things are being stolen. We had an IT guy that was stealing old laptops after we replaced them for employees with new ones. Funny thing was that we didn't give him a raise for 5 years since we knew about it. And apparently he didn't want to quit either out of fear of being discovered or due to the extra money he was making. His raise would have been worth more than the laptops, so we just let it continue. Greater than his raise would have been worth more than the laptops, so we just let it continue. No problem with a lack of character issues for an IT position. Seems like a big security risk. I suppose if you are aware that they have poor character, then you can just keep a keen eye on the monsieur. They're already saving money, so a little extra time spent monitoring them probably won't make much difference to the bottom line. A guy at the plant I work at scrapped $360,000 in airplane parts because he didn't even bother to look at the work instructions. He just drives a forklift now. When you realize $360,000 in airplane parts is like one sub-assembly. One particular type of screw on my old jet was about $10,000 for one single screw. Got caught with CP on his work computer. Had access to the net taken away but wasn't fired, as it's possible he didn't know it was real CP. Edit. Just to clarify a few things. 1. This was about 15 years ago at a public institution in Canada. 2. CP is child P***RN. 3. Upper management was terrible in so many ways. 4. I talked to a friend who was in the RCMP. She said to me reporting him would lead to the institution lawyering up and an internal investigation would happen. That's all because likely upper management erased the HD and left no paper trail. See number 3. 5. He used Kazaa, an ancient P2P. How is there no criminal legal action taken against him? The FBI tends not to care whether you knew or not. As they should. That's very much not true. Sadly, I found CP on a guy's computer while repairing some software issues. Detectives cuffed him and walked him through the store right past his wife and teenage daughter. The detective kept us updated on the case. The guy was the head of child PH psychology at a local university. Claimed it was research. Because of that and the fact that he was never actually in any of the 24 videos he walked with. No charges and kept his job till he retired. That's crazy to me, because I've worked with child abuse investigators who have had to view CP in the course of their duties, but they had to receive documented special dispensation to do so. Nothing. Documenting work is completed when no actual work had been done. Management knew or was suspicious of it, but not so much as a write-up or reprimand. Eventually, management changed, figured out no work was being done, called it fraud, and canned the monsieur. The job was easy too, and good money. I don't get why they didn't just do the work. Job's even easier if you don't do it at all. Similar issue. Had an analyst who joined the team from an acquisition. Deliverables were quarterly. All is fine for about a year. Then I start getting the occasional escalation about overdue work or missing work. I address it and the employee assures me they're working on it. No big deal. We all get behind. But after another full quarter and more frequent issues, I decide to look into all her customers. Turns out the analyst wasn't doing crap until the customer asked for it. They played dumb that they didn't know they had to do it, despite me training them and they having no issues for the first year. HR required a performance improvement period. The employee busted ass and got all their backlog done in the 60-day period and was not fired. Fast forward to another 6 months and it all starts over. They quit before I could get authorization to terminate. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.